And? To screw it up less next time, although we can't possibly screw it up as badly as the city is screwing this up. And welcome to the This Week in Worcester podcast. I am Tom Marino, editor of This Week in Worcester. I am here with Mr. John Edward Keogh. He is a especially valued, featured content and news producer for This Week in Worcester. He is also producer of J Media and president of Hollywood Film Group. Hello, Mr. John.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Let's slow roll it here for a few minutes and let some people catch on. Because do I get some things to say today?
Yeah. You gonna yell?
Probably. They're very yellable topics.
Well, I mean, that's let's see. I have officially shared all our stuff. Okay. Yeah, to all the places that I usually share to.
So just in an effort to slow roll here, I did a story that got a little attention this week.
You did, yeah. It got a lot of attention, yeah.
Proud to have given a woman, an amazing woman, platform when, I think really only one other person in the city has done so. And so I am happy I did so, proud to have done so, would do it again for anybody who's got something to say about it. And I also want to address claims that I support John Fresolo, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life.
It's interesting that the first thing that people think of instead of looking at the situation, the website, the articles, is they start talking about the political situation, but they don't even read the thing. They don't like that, and I saw the comments all over your post. It's just like, okay, did you even read it? Did you?
No, they don't read. They don't read. The angriest people do not read the stuff.
Yeah. They only read the headline and then they react to the headline
questioning when she reported or whatever. Like
years
ago. Shut up, stupid.
Years ago.
We'll also talk about basically the gutless, cowardly agenda that the city council put forward for this week. Because it's election time and we just want to punt everything like the majority has been punting for 10 months. And then I just run through the agenda. And then Councilor Toomey, as soon as the Worcester Research Bureau report came out, we'll obviously talk about that. For citizen review boards, and Councilor Toomey went to Match Live and gave a quote that's just totally inaccurate. She knows it. If she doesn't know it, she should be ashamed of herself. And then, like I said, the council's weak pre-election agenda, because while there's so much city business to do, we can just punt for the election.
Yeah, I think that if you look at the agendas, obviously Tuesday being the last one before the election, we're going to pay some attention to it. But if you just look over basically since June, the mayor and the city manager have steered a almost completely bland diet of very few meetings and very short meetings, and gotten it so there's very few difficult votes, very few things where people are put on the record. And in the case of a couple of things that you and I and most people looked at as innocuous, right, like the 287G agreement, any pushback at all became a massive controversy. So definitely it seems like there was a coordinated effort to keep the agendas easy and light during the lead up to the election.
Yeah, and of course, wholly preventing any citizen petition that isn't on, a parking space. Of
100.
course, because we have a whole year. It's so busy at City Hall for the City Council that does all this important work. They say,
Very important.
Meanwhile, they spend 2/3 of their time on orders, 90% of which don't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Councilor Bergman and some other folks have said, something to the effect of it. Oh, people just want to come in here and be on TV. Well, why are you talking for 2, 3, 4 hours about orders when 90% of them don't happen? Because you want to be on TV.
Yeah. The other thing that really strikes me is that it's something that Donna, I don't know if she intended to do this, but Donna pointed out this at the at-large debate. Most of the rigmarole kind of work, like the stuff that has to happen all the time, stop signs replaced and bus and all that kind of basic city business, it's really done in one committee in traffic and parking.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to city council, they don't even really talk about it unless it's a street naming thing. Other than that, those are all done on roll call, not even on a roll call vote. Often they're when the mayor does that, yeas, opposed, so ordered. And then if there is a roll call, it's usually when one councilor has a particular street that they want to pull out of the 47 orders that come out of traffic and parking. So even that whole concept that they have all this work that they have to do, it's not even done on Tuesday nights. It's really done on traffic and parking, which is the busiest committee. It is. And so even the functional part of the government it's complete and utter nonsense. It does not need to be the way that they say it, and yet they continue to perpetuate it. And as soon as people start to look at it even just a little bit, man, the resistance, whoa, boy, do they come out firing at you in every way, shape, or form, man.
Oh yeah, and I didn't put it on the agenda, but I also want to talk about something that the mayor said during the mayor's debate the other day. And Maria, you didn't miss anything. We were slow rolling to let people come in because I got some stuff to say.
Yeah, I will say this: I have no evidence of it, but apparently I aggravated somebody this week enough to get a complaint to Facebook that got me taken down for a day or two. I won my little appeal thing, but I wonder. I mean, that's not the you and I haven't talked about it all the way, but right before the 17th, on the 17th, right before the the No King's Day protest, there was over 46,000 accounts across the country that were disabled. And so interesting that happened. Now I won my appeal, and they said that the person who had filed the report had no merit, whatever it was, which I guess that's cool, but it doesn't tell you what happened or not. But there definitely is a chilling of speech.
Yep.
Not just nationwide, but I think also here in our city, there's definitely approach to limit, to deny people the opportunity to speak, and to try to force people to work through a very, very narrow set of standards that, I mean, I don't know that there's any legal basis for it, but they seem to think that they can get away with it for now, because there's really no, I guess there's no legal ability for people to push back yet. But we'll see. We'll see what changes. There's still a couple weeks left. Maybe there'll be another October surprise.
As we know, they're more than happy with lawsuits because they don't have to pay them.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in a little bit. So I published a story today after a Worcester woman who's an amazing human being, Heather Prunier, participated in a video asking folks to reject two candidates that have, she says, protected a man who she says sexually abused her from 1991 and 1994 when she was between 9 and 12 years old. So that's a good person to protect. Those candidates are Maureen Benenda and John Fresolo. Not John Pizzella. I'm sorry, John Pizzella. And so I wrote a piece that was largely based on a website. Most of it was based on a website that they had produced along with the video. And then I did some background, like on former DA John Conte's, complete and abysmal failure during the Catholic priest crisis. The first thing I want to address is that apparently somebody, the speculation is the Fresolo campaign. I don't know if that's true, but somebody took the piece that I wrote and stuck it on text and, sent out a wave of text messages in District 3 with my piece. And I got a phone call from somebody who I'm not going to say who, at one point called me a blogger. And then, basically said I was supporting Fresolo. Let me be really clear. The idea that I would support someone who openly said they didn't bother to read the DOJ report is preposterous on its face. Just that alone. The fact of the matter is those two candidates are garbage. Garbage. It's a disgrace that that's the only choices that those people have in that district. And anybody that's excited about either one of them, I mean, get a life. Really. Really. I got the creep from the State House or, the guy who was the hammer for Maureen Benendez throwing as many black and brown kids out of school as humanly possible. And you think I'm supporting one of them. Sorry, I have a conscience. So it's stupid. Absolutely stupid. I am supporting Heather.
Yeah.
Not any one of those two idiots.
One is on a revenge tour, wants to get into the city council just to screw it up. Literally openly has said that. And the other one just wants to put police officers in every classroom. That's really that's what you're dealing with.
Right.
Oh, it's wild.
As far as the piece that I did, based on Heather's video and the website that was produced, stand by it. I gave her a voice where, really, Worcester, Saxon, I love it's the only other place that has bothered to take any interest in this story.
Yeah.
So criticize him all you want. Everybody loves to poop on him. But one that was maybe the best journalistic work he's done and was top tier stuff when he did that story in 2023. Two, I don't really, I would have done this with, this story about Heather's statement, whether she did it in an election year or not. Because if it hurts Pizzella is not my concern. My concern is that that woman has her say.
Yeah. Also, again, so I mean, of course, I work with you, and I know how hard you've worked on these things, and that there's no intention on your part. You've been working on the story, but the website wasn't up yet, and that's not your responsibility. When it happened, right? So there's this I love these conspiracy theories, which is funny because then if you bring up the same kind of timing to other people about things that are happening, they'll be like, oh, no, never. We would never time anything like city council meetings without an agenda. We would never do such a thing. How dare you?
The mayor said in his debate on Thursday, it was on Thursday, that he had put an order on the agenda. Now, I mean, granted, it's still a punt, but he said he put an order on the agenda to get a report from Eric on the report. Yeah. I mean, the most government thing you've ever heard, and then it's not even on the agenda. So because there's an election, and that's what is sacrosanct. The only important thing in the city is that, the Gang of Six gets reelected.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what it seems to be. I mean, and it's it really not just the Gang of Six, but also that there's I don't want to say an encroachment, but I definitely see that there is a push towards changing not necessarily how the school committee votes, but the composition of the school committee to be more in line with the majority that happens to be on the city council. So there's definitely powers that be shaping,
Yeah.
like all the elected officials in our city. Um, and if when you point those things out, when you point, like kind of the consistency of those things out, they're like, we don't work together, blah 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 blah. It's just wild.
Yeah.
Yet they say exactly the same thing all over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting that all these years that this has been kicking around about John Manfredo, this accusation, and all the people you could think of. Maureen Benenda, 46 years in the Worcester Public Schools. She can't say it enough. Pizzella, who cops just a door because he wants to, like you said, wants to put a cop every 3 feet in every school because he loves to watch kids get arrested. Anthony Petroni, a very influential, was the vice president of the officers union for 100 years until recently.
Although go ahead. I'll tell you what he posted on Facebook recently.
None of these people had anybody they could call at the Worcester Police Department and say, hey, when you investigated that, what did you really find? There's two options. They didn't care or they already knew.
Right. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I think, one of the things that, if we go back, just a separate subject really quickly, but if you go back to, kind of the conversations that we saw take place regarding the DOJ report, and particularly the couple of times that Chief Saucier was allowed to kind of talk both at city council and then in particular in a couple of those times in the public safety meeting, some of his answers were more expansive than anything we've ever seen before. One of the things he talked about was he used this phrase and he used it a bunch of times, and he's good about this: investigatory resources, right? So when they have crime or specific things, the resources are the amount of officers or case officers and sergeants and detectives that they assign to a particular thing, right? And in what we've seen in some of the misconduct cases is that it ended up at a supervisor, usually that officer's direct supervisor, and then it would just stop. So they really didn't do an investigation other than one resource, right? And so, or they let the officers investigate themselves. And in other cases, when they really want to take something down or they really believe it's like an important case, all of a sudden, there'll be 30, 40, 50, 100 officers all working on the same case or all really focused on it. And you've seen that in a couple of the murder cases, the higher profile murder cases in the city of Worcester, where the resources just expand rapidly, really quickly. In this case, it looks like there was an interaction with the victim and it stopped. That, like, there was no follow-up, there's no records really around it.
So I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
Because and you'll understand why in a second.
Yeah.
But the way it appears at this point is that the Worcester Police Department actually did a phenomenal investigation.
Oh wow.
And handed over far more than is enough to prosecute. And personal friend of Ray Mariano and John Manfredo, John Conti, who had a policy in his office that any cases of profile come directly to him and he makes the decision. He took it and threw it away.
Wow.
And that leads to the next point, and I'll tell you why. That's why I don't want to say too much, is because in cases of rape, sexual assault, and some other, familial abuse and stuff, those are not public records, right?
Right.
But under a different law than the public records law is that the victim or the victim's attorneys, prosecutors, and advocates, and a very select group of people, but most importantly, the victim can request those records.
Right.
That's been done. And in August, the Worcester Police Department turned those records over to the law department. And that's where they stopped. So, City Solicitor Calcunis, could you maybe have a little compassion for a woman who's dealing with something very traumatic, and every second of it is re-traumatizing, and not be the meanest, biggest liar on earth for once, and do your job instead of holding these things for what appears like the election? I wonder who she's supporting.
So that, you mean, that's a significant concern.
2 months. 2 months. It is not this girl's fault that everybody in your department's quit because they hate you.
Right.
Put up.
Because in this case, that indicates to me that, and what we've seen from this law department under Ms. Calcunis and her immediate predecessor, was a real significant focus on redacting names and like trying to like drill down to it, which
I can only imagine. I can only imagine the bullshit that's going to happen.
Right. So I get it. And of course, and then there's a huge concern over in the city manager's office with protecting like the legacy of various officials. And so there's a huge concern. And then a big thing about this situation, Tom, and I just can't, again, the way our city works, Ray Mariano, as mayor, his two staffers, Diane Biancheria, who was his chief of staff for a long time, and then Rob Pizzella, who worked for him in the office, right? Those two people, and then eventually was hired as the school security director by Maureen Bienda, right? So you have this like kind of Worcester cultural, this small group of people that try to retain control over like a period of time. It makes sense to me that it's very possible that those folks were all involved with the records exchange and things that were happening in between the city administration and then the police department. And I appreciate that the police department, if they did a good job here, that makes sense to me now, because I did see a comment from Anthony Petrone on Facebook. So I know everybody thinks that I hate these people and that I want them all to die, right? Or I want bad things to happen. I don't at all. I did see that he mentioned that the information was given to DA Conti, and he specifically named a time period when it was delivered. So and then the date that he started was 1991. Why is that important? Well, John Manfredo that's the date that he gave, this date range. That starting in 1991, the police department was giving information to the DA's office in one random Facebook comment. And so that's on the Telegram and Gazette article, and in one of the sub comments. And it really struck me because, again, Anthony Petrone's been a police officer in the city for almost 45 years, right? And then right, almost 40 years, right?
Is that long? That seems extraordinary.
Long, 30 plus, a long time. He's been in there, and he's also been in the power structure of the union for a long time. So he would know, maybe some information about significant investigations. And so I don't know, Tom, if maybe this whole situation is a bigger thing than we realize, that there's more people involved with hiding this kind of information. And then remember, John Manfredo was on the school committee for 16 years, right? Eight terms, right? So, I mean,
I think so.
Is that right? Eight terms?
Was it 8 terms or was it 8 years? I forget. So it's either 8 years or 8 terms, one of the two. But either way, he was on there for at least 8 years. That's a long time to be on the school committee. And so, it's really difficult situation with a lot of prominent people involved. And I have to tell you, if you're at this level and you're running for these positions, why don't you just talk about it? You know what I mean? Why won't they talk about it? And it's never about the person who's went through it that they approach it from. It's always about trying to make it a political situation or trying to make it about themselves or some, that kind of thing. But I've yet to hear any of them. 16 years. So Lynn says 16 years. That's a long time that these folks are a part of this, but the city structures, which I think we've all
at least the people who watch our show and like us, because there's lots of people who watch our show and don't like us. We're talking
Thanks.
about city structures that have existed for a long period of time, and we think that those city structures, which are really people who are in place, and they're still influencing decision making, even though in some cases they're no longer a part of those organizations, right? And so, should they be making as much influence as they have? I mean, completely separate subject aside, Tom, I can't help but see on Mayor Petty's page, he posted a picture of a Railers game that he went to, and the city manager's there, and Tim Murray's there. And so we have the highest elected official in our state, in our city, and the highest appointed official in our city, hanging out with the leader of the
The
chamber.
the local business lobbyist.
Right now, I get it because Cliff Rucker, who owns the Railers and owns a ton of property in the city, is one of the biggest members of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's donated a ton of money. And I get it. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's a specific optic that you're putting out there, whether you understand it or not. And it doesn't matter if you agree with how I view it. But when I see that, I just see the old boys club. This is how we want to do it, and this is how we want it to stay, and it's going to stay this way for all time. And so and it's not to reduce Heather's situation, but what I see is that Heather's situation in their mind affects their ability to retain power. And because they have that scare, they pushed it down and pushed it down. So they're willing to let a little girl suffer lifelong trauma to maintain the power structures that be. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, I have no information that they have any hand in this.
No.
But I will say that if you think you've seen me come for people before, keep playing games with these records, and you will see a new me.
What do you mean, Tom? You don't have any sources, Tom. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Right. No, I mean, why would I have sources? I'm just a blogger.
They're just a vlogger, dude. Just a blogger. Just a citizen journalist.
Yeah, something like that. 9 years doing this, whatever. I mean, I don't really care whatever, whatever. Yeah. Say what you want, because you want your buddy to win. You're upset that I printed truth, and the fact of the matter is that before Heather made herself public as the person who filed the complaint back when in 97 when she filed, she was getting involved in trying to get the school department to deal with, essentially rape culture, right? And it was I forget what year it was now, but Heather was part of a group that went to City Hall for a school committee meeting, and they had like handouts, right? Little handouts. And I mean, they, much like the city council and anything police related, the administration of the schools didn't want to deal with this at all. And so in City Hall, Pizzella approached them, attempted to take their handouts from them, and said, "We don't want this here." To which one of the people in the group said, "Rape? We don't want that either," which he did not find funny, and then said, "I don't want you here," and had them removed.
And who hired that?
And if you want to look at some old stuff, go to Racism Free. I linked it in the story. I think it's Racism Free WPS. They solicited comments from students that are anonymized on this Instagram page, and they got a lot of students commenting on race related things that they experienced. But they also got a whole bunch, which they never even asked for, I don't believe. They got a whole bunch of things about creepy behavior and sexual innuendo and unwarranted touching and whatnot inside the schools, and they wanted to bury it. So, if Mr. Pizzella is elected, I am sure that he will fit in nicely with this current majority who doesn't want to address anything.
Yeah, I mean that makes
and the
that makes
city
a
will
lot.
be worse for it.
You know, another part of the story that really struck me, and I knew this because I had read, you know, both Bill's article, which I agree is a tremendous piece of reporting. Again, the rest of the city, the you know, kind of mainstream media, they just don't cover this stuff. Um, and then you brought it up in your report, was this little item kind of buried in there that Maureen Bienda tried to ban Heather from attending school committee meetings because
Multiple sources.
it made Mr. Monfredo uncomfortable. So if he didn't do anything wrong, why would it make him uncomfortable? Is step one, immediate. It's a first red flag right away.
I mean,
Um,
I can get there, but okay.
Well, I mean, you know, so the other thing is that, you know, so Worcester is a super litigious community. You know, there's a lot of lawsuits going back and forth for a long time, for years and years and years. If this was, you know, this was public statement and he felt uncomfortable, he never sued her. And he could have at some point. This is the and she's not the only. By the way, by the way, and this is what I think that people don't recognize. Whenever someone comes forward about something like this, it sets a precedent. And what it does is usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And so I wouldn't be surprised if other people came forward. And then that would really, really, really do a huge disservice to the city. And again, this is not being against the city of Worcester, right? We're not against the city of Worcester. This is against that culture of power retention and this kind of I want to keep things down, but it allows for behavior that is not just criminal, but abusive at a different kind of level. It just shouldn't take place. Um, it just shouldn't take place. And so, and if there wasn't a guilt or innocence situation, my last thought here is this: it should at least be investigated. And when we see that there's no investigation or it's stop or there is one and then it's stopped at somebody's level, someone made a determination that there's no reason this to go to trial or whatever. That is that doesn't make sense because especially now, I mean, you know, at this point in life, when this kind of charge comes up, there's usually an investigation and there's a trial. At least you go through it and it's publicly brought up and we go through the details. But the more you see people resist that, the more it looks like the bigger scandals, like the you know, I don't want to say the name because I don't want our I don't want our stream to be associated with the national stuff, but it reminds me of the Epstein stuff. Like we're just hiding everything and we can't have an investigation. Let's have an
Well, I mean,
investigation.
so there was an investigation, you know, but look, John Conti and so just soon after, so in it was New Year's Eve 1996 that Heather was interviewed by police, and then early 97 Manfredo was suspended pending investigation. Police,
Right.
from my understanding at this point, the police department did its investigation, handed over to Conti, to the DA's office. Conti now in January, soon after Manfredo is suspended pending an investigation, the Telegram does a story on his being suspended in the allegations. And Ray Mariano said, I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but the gist of it was, I trust him with my own daughter, and I would continue to do so. Why the mayor of the city is commenting, giving character references in the news on an ongoing criminal investigation is just stunningly gross. But this is Worcester, and we'll talk about in a second how people just can do whatever the hell they want here if you're in a certain club.
Right.
So, and I, you know, I mean, a lot of people are here, but all three are you know, Catholic and knew each other for a very long time and had some connection with the church, you know, from the church, and you know, it is every reason to recuse for a DA. There's all the reasons to recuse, But John Conti was a tyrant who never talked to anybody, never gave information to anybody, never talked to the media, because he was a scumbag. And I just, the one thing I want I mean, people already kind of know. There was what was it, 50 some cases of that were deemed credible by allegations against priests by the Archdiocese of Worcester, and Conti got 6 confessions and 0 convictions at trial.
That's right. And the only county in Massachusetts, that had no convictions in the the priest abuse crisis, the only one. And it's the only one where there were depositions taken of the sitting bishop, and the sitting bishop denied allegations. In every other case, if you were going back into time, and this is a bad thing for Massachusetts, and there's a huge, this was my first ever reporter job, was working on the priest abuse crisis, and I have some friends, a lot of different stuff involved there. But let me say that Worcester looks really, really bad in the whole thing, and this DA was the DA that was involved in that, and there's just no doubt about it. By the way, the longest sitting district attorney in Massachusetts history, right? The longest ever, 30 plus years as a single DA. And so this concept and idea that somehow the abuse crisis just like stopped at Worcester County's borders and shifted to Berkshire County and down into Connecticut, up to the states, all over the world, is wild to this day. And so, I mean, this kind of lines up. This is yet another abuse, a person of power or a person of influence and structure, and not being investigated by a district attorney the way that they should have been. Although it does, like you said, the evidence does seem to indicate that the police did their job. And so, the thing is, we talk all the time about we want the police to do these things. We want them to do this kind of investigation. In this case, they did, and then the other part didn't do their job, that's really bad. That's I don't know. I think that might be worse, Tom, because in this case, the police did their job.
So obviously, this is what's being told to me. I have yet to see the files, of course, because they're stuck in the city solicitor's office.
Yeah, and the fact that the city solicitor is sitting on those files is
for 2 months. 2 months,
mind-boggling. It's just, frankly, Tom, like if and I'm just trying to like imagine if I'm the city solicitor, I want those files out of my hands as soon as possible, because it's just a potential destructive black mark. Like that takes down whole administrations and get those files out of your office. Like, what are you? That's just stupid. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to refer.
And sorry that it's so close to the election, but that's nobody's fault but yours.
And like the headline writes itself. A city solicitor squashes, hides files, denies victim.
Yeah, well, we're not going there yet. We'll see.
It's wild. It's wild. She shouldn't hold it for a day. She should have released the files immediately.
Well, I mean, so I believe what's happening is, I don't know why, because they shouldn't be redacting anything under this law. It is my understanding of it, at least. But they're apparently going through the files. There's a lot of files there. That's nice. That just sounds like your problem.
Right, but the thing is they shouldn't be, though. The victim, like in this case, my understanding of the law, and maybe you and other people can, when it's the victim who's requested it. If there, in this case, it's a single victim, right? It's unless there's more than one victim. So then that really opens up a whole.
Well, but then she wouldn't get those files, obviously. But I just want to add that I know somebody that that went to another municipality who is a survivor of a sex crime, walked into the records office and walked out with the files.
And that's how it should have been in this case. It should have been in this case. She's being re-victimized by Attorney Kalkunis. Like that's what's happening right now.
As you can imagine, everything about this is re-traumatizing.
Which is, and by the way, this is from a city administration, a mayor, and a city council that talks all the time about believing victims, and we're trying to support.
They say a lot of things,
but they never follow through on they love saying things at public gatherings, but then when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of actually doing the work you're supposed to do, they always punt. And you use the word in the description for the show. They are punting. They're trying to get it past the election. That's what they're trying to do. They don't want to deal.
And then in 3 weeks or whatever, they'll be back And then it'll only be 2 years until the next election. So let's start the punting game again. I mean,
Yeah.
the gutlessness is unbelievable.
Well, I mean, it's always a report on our next steps, on the next committee, on the when we're gonna go, and the da 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 da. When it's essential to a person, and in this case, it's because So Tom, to be honest with you, what you've done and what Bill has done you've been two of the few people who have stood with Heather, and you don't have any official power, and neither does Bill. But at least you can say that this outlet, This Week in Worcester, stood with this person when they needed someone else, because clearly our mayor and our city council and our city manager and who is the direct supervisor of the city solicitor is not willing to stand with someone who has come forward very bravely and stood in front of the public and said that they have gone through these things. They should be
And
stood with.
if the situation is as the way I understand it currently, this sounds like a pretty positive story for the Worcester Police Department. Why don't you let me write it?
Yeah, that's the other thing too. And so, it just boggles the mind. We've been asking the police to do this kind of investigation. Turns out they did. Not only that, if you think about the person who was the chief at the time, right? That's even better for the police department. It's even better. And not only that, some of the folks that are at the command level at this point, you would think that they want it. I appreciate that Mr. Petrone actually said that. He threw Compty right under the bus. I would like to see a little pushback at the time, right? So I get it. I appreciate that it's being done now, but I wonder. I guess it's hard to do it because we didn't have internet culture the way it is today. So I don't know what it looked like back then. But it would be nice to see that this little girl who came forward and put on and said someone was hurting her wasn't taken seriously back then by everybody, because that's what happened. So I appreciate what you and Bill have done here, because she deserves a hearing.
Because I'm a vindictive a-hole. From what I understand, John Conti's still alive and is like 95.
Yeah.
Hang in there, Mr. Conti. I want you to see again that we all see you for what you were before you go. Before you inevitably, if there's any justice in this world, before you spend the rest of eternity in damnation where you belong.
So I'm just going to ignore that comment. I'm just going to ignore it. And because I'm just going to ignore it.
Okay. The personification of evil, really.
It's just it's never about the what ifs or it's in this case, we have a person who's brave and came forward, which is very rare. And that needs to have a light on it. And it needs to be lifted up. It doesn't matter the result. It doesn't matter the result. What matters is that is, as a society, if we say we're good people and we're trying to make things better in the world, we need to make sure that we illuminate people who are brave and stand in the dock. And by the way, do you know how hard it is in Worcester? Dude, I can't even go to breakfast without someone saying something stupid about me, right? And this woman is standing in the middle of the gauntlet by putting herself out there. Like, it doesn't matter. She's a hero. And that's how we should think about her. It's so brave. And I don't know that I've ever had to be that brave in my life, Tom. I don't know that I have. Right?
She's amazing.
What have I ever had to go through? I really haven't. But what this woman is going through it's about time that men stand up and say, hey, you know what? We want to look at this stuff. It really is. It really is. Regardless of where we come from, regardless of our own backgrounds, just say, hey, you know what? She deserves to be heard. That's what we should do.
And maybe you don't. I know a lot more of the facts than you do, first of all. Second of all, our story is exactly the same as it was 25 years ago.
Fred, it's in the chat. I don't want to swear, but shut up and read the story before you talk, because you don't know what you're talking
about. Nonetheless. And I don't I don't know why it is that I don't know why that was so objectionable. Because the people that are responsible for covering this up for this long,
Yeah,
they need to pay a price, and a hefty one.
at minimum, there needs to be, and this is, and there needs to be public shaming, naming of name at minimum. Minimum, there has to be, people have to be exposed, and then they should lose any access to the pedals of power that they are just trying to cling to desperately. All of them
Yep.
should be removed for this. All of them.
Go away. Go just salvage whatever
Yeah.
little honor you have left
Yeah,
and exit public life.
yeah, go start a bakery, right? Go make cookies for, for your family forever. You know what I mean? Sell them on.
But I got a good laugh out of being accused of being a Fresolo supporter. Once again, both of those candidates are absolute garbage, and anybody that didn't even read what was a 40-page report or something on the Worcester Police Department because you're just not interested in reality, you're so over the top, irresponsible, and worthless. God help us, whichever one wins.
Yeah. I mean, and Natalie did say that there have been multiple people. I have seen it just on the newspaper post alone. Other people saying that they have felt that this person made them feel uncomfortable. So I'm telling you, it's the beginning. You don't like the. You know what's crazy, Tom? In every single time this story happens in the United States, I swear, there's always idiotic leaders who try to get in the way, and they're always then washed away by the flood that comes behind it, because there's always more. This thing is consistent. This kind of behavior consistently, there's more. There's more, and we're not talking about familial abuse, right? We all know the difference. This show has been it's probably the only show in Worcester County that I know of that's even talked about this. We know the difference between things that have happened in people's families, between relatives, versus outsiders in positions of power going after children. There's a difference. There's two different things. We're talking about an outsider, a non-relative in a position of power and authority who went after maybe multiple people. And it's never turned out to be a single victim. It's never turned out that way. And we've been watching it now for 40 years. It's been since the first case, when the first case came forward, right? And people forget about Paul Shanley. Paul Shanley was the principal of a school when the very first kid came forward. And after that, we've had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of victims come forward. Not two, not one, hundreds of thousands. And it's always been the same. It's like, well, a lot of people make stuff up, blah, 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 blah. No, when it turns out that there are people being dishonest, there have been acquittals. There's been acquittals. That situation is different. This situation is the very beginning, and you have to stand with her and give her she deserves us all to stand with her. That's it. There's no other answer.
So yeah, that's probably enough on that. And once again, the D3 candidates are absolute garbage.
Yeah, I just some of the things that we're seeing in the election this year are just Tom, we've been through quite a few of these election cycles now, right? And every time I thought it couldn't get worse, I really did. I really thought it couldn't get worse, and it breaks my expectations every single time.
And what's amazing is still none of the candidates actually say anything.
No, and all of the mistakes are self-inflicted. They're not even like, it's not like someone's playing political games and like manipulating them into mistakes. No, they are like literally shooting themselves
Unforced errors
all the time. And it's like, this is the pool of people that are our leaders. man, we can't get better, you know. And I said this to someone the other day at one of the post, the debate stuff, but I mentioned this out loud. I think that the housing policies, by the way, very much thankful to Tony Economou for helping ruin our city's housing over the past 25 years. The housing policies that we have in place have displaced tons of longtime Worcester residents, and now they're in Southbridge and Auburn and Holden and Grafton and all these towns around. And I wonder if we're losing all of our potential political talent to terrible housing policy. It's like we can't even keep on, and we lose the kids in the colleges, we lose the kids in the high school, everybody leaves, and then we're stuck here saying the same thing. And because we're losing talent, it just gets worse because the same people are same cyclical people running, being involved, and even the outsiders, right? The supposed political newcomers, right? I'm looking at you, at-large candidates. You're not. You've been around. You've been a part of this structure for decades, and so it's the same group of people, the same small group of people doing the same. You know what? Bullshit. That's what it is. That's what it is. It ends up being bullshit.
I think I said this earlier, but on Thursday, Mayor Petty, during the debate, said there was an order on the. He put an order in for City Council to ask Eric to give his analysis of the Research Bureau's report on citizen review boards. A report on the report, the most government thing you can do. And then the agenda comes out, it's not there. So apparently, they didn't want to open the door for anybody speaking on this on Tuesday, because why not punt? You've been punting for 10 months.
Right. Yeah, I mean, why talk about anything on Tuesday?
Yeah.
It's a political risk, right?
So I was very much of the opinion last week when we talked about this that but this was probably going to go ahead, then they were just going to destroy it, right?
Right.
I'm in a much different places right now than I was a week ago. I do not think they're going to do this at all. I think that they will punt this along and punt it along and eventually just kill it. It's just my take. Look, that was I said that before. There's a lot of before there's been any public statements on this on the report, which of course didn't come out before the meeting, but you feel me. And now seeing the mayor still hedging. Councilor Toomey, of course, is out there making false statements. Ran to the Mass Live and said, I think I need to digest the report or whatever, but I think that we have post and we have bops and that's enough. No, you clearly didn't read the report at all, because it specifically says what I've said 100 times, but you don't listen to residents because you're too holier than thou, is post was never intended. They're not going to do it for you. Post was never intended to just do it for you so you can hide politically with your cowardice. That's not what they're there for. They're there to make sure to oversee, to make sure you're not spiking the ball like you have for 20 years.
And post, and a really significant thing about post does not have the ability to initiate investigations.
If they receive complaints, you can complain to post and they can investigate, but only if they get the complaint.
But only if they get but I have a question. Who knows to go there?
Well, and they first turn it over to the police departments. They notify the police department. So this is not supposed to be a replacement at all for local oversight.
It's not an independent investigation. If someone complains to Post and then Post turns it over to the police, now the police know about it. That's not oversight. That's them looking at themselves, which again
has never worked anywhere ever.
In any industry,
not in private industry, not in public life.
It doesn't.
And anybody that gets it right, like the military, is actually very good at this.
Yeah,
they have inspector generals.
I agree. I oh my goodness, I'm not even going down this road.
Shut up.
My goodness, who cares? That has nothing to do with what see, that's the thing. It's always a distraction. It's always like a what
Yeah.
about this or what about what does that have to do with what we're talking about? It doesn't.
Well,
It
I
has
mean,
nothing.
he really is just repeating kind of the the
It's a
police
talking
union
point.
line. Well,
Yeah,
no, it's the police union line, really. That this is all a Joe Biden conspiracy. So, I mean, I guess it does fit if
right,
you're delusional.
right. Except for we've already proven that through our own reporting that that's completely false. So,
Right.
again, the Department of Justice investigation was initiated by two Republican attorneys inside the Department of Justice, who were the only two Republican U.S. attorney members that were retained by the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney Office. They were both appointed by President Trump, and they were the lead investigators on the Department of Justice report. This has been reported by us, and now it has been reported other places as well. It doesn't matter anymore. You can't hide the fact that it was two Trump appointees that initiated this. And a significant thing that still is hanging out there is that the Department of Justice report is the only patterns and practices investigation open in the country. It
That's
is
correct.
only one.
They're not going to do anything, though.
But it's still open because they know there's something there. There's a reason why they haven't done it. Obviously you and I, we have particular sources, and we've done everything we can to protect those sources. But one of the conversations that I had was that there have been conversations about letting it happen to Worcester because Worcester's a blue city, right? So, well, you want to mess around with us? Well, then we'll let this thing go out and here, and now you're going to look stupid because this is there.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a super cynical way for investigations to take place. But there's
But
more.
we are in delusional land. We are in the alternate
We
universe.
live in an alternate universe at this point. So to me, hey, if that's what gets it done, that's what gets it done. But if I was them, I would be very afraid of that. Very afraid of that. Say the
So
wrong thing and watch records get leaked.
yeah. So yeah, on Citizen Review Board. No, I'm kind of the opinion now that they're not gonna go along with this.
Yeah.
But it leaves them in a spot, right? So
Yeah.
they can be an outlier, as the report pointed out. They can continue to be an outlier, and pretend that although it is better now, that the Bob's division doesn't have a 20-year history of lying nonstop. I mean, there are some reports that have video. You read the report, you look at the video, you go, huh? And you read the report, and then you look at the video and you go, do I have the right thing? Because it's just not what happened.
No.
And that's not quoting what the officer said. That is the investigator just buying what the officer said because they're covering it up.
Yeah.
And that has happened for many years here. It's better now, for sure, with this chief.
Yeah.
But if those that have been in the city council for a long time, the mayor, Councilor Toomey, Councilor Bergman, one of two things is true, because there was two use of force, unreasonable force complaints that were found. They were found responsible for them inside 6 months, and there wasn't any for 10 years. So one of two things is true: either the police department is getting worse, or the city council was asleep for a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one result, and I agree with you. And I think the police department has gotten better. And again, despite the fact that we're constantly accused of hating the police, I do think that Paul Saucier has done a better job than
Absolutely.
It was a low bar, but he's definitely gone above that low bar. So and I would say that he's the most. We've said this more than one time. He's been the most transparent chief of police the city of Worcester's ever had, no doubt. But there's a problem with these old situations, whether they're old or not, and what's left over from them. And one of the big important things, and I want to use an example outside of our country that I think has had long-lasting effects, and that's the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, which was in apartheid South Africa. Which led to, by the way, and it's started to change back because there's a lot of things going on over there. But there was a period of time, about 15 years after apartheid, where where they became a more unified country because people were given the chance to come forward, admit what they did, tell the truth, and then receive reconciliation with the nation. But a key component to that was they could no longer hold public authority posts. That was it. That was the end. It was like, hey, you say this, you admit this, and then they prosecuted the most serious crimes. That, there's a ton of reporting about this. There's a great documentary done by the guy who Ken Burns did a great documentary. A lot of stuff that you could go into, and a lot of history regarding that. But that was the key component. So the guy who lied on the paperwork didn't go to jail, but he was no longer in charge of anything. The dudes who murdered people, they went to jail. They went to prison, and they stayed in prison. So,
and that's not the only place that they've done that. I mean, they've done that here, related to police departments in the United States. I don't know if they called it Truth and Reconciliation. I think one was called Truth and Reconciliation. I don't remember what city, but I mean, they've done these, like, dealing with the past so you can move forward. But in this backwards city, I mean, and the chief said it, I do think the chief is much better, but the chief said it, Councilor Toomey said, I just want to look forward. You're never going to get to look forward. You're always going to live in this shadow.
You have to say sorry. You got to say sorry. And
I mean, I don't even care about sorry. Just stop being in denial. Stop pretending to be in denial because you know the truth.
Well, you have to
at some point, are these people sadistic? Do they get off on these videos? Do they watch these videos and they enjoy Pastor Rizzuto's grandchildren screaming and they just can't wait for more to come?
I don't think that they watch them, Tom.
That's the truth.
I don't think that they look at this stuff. I think that they are true believers, that they are 100% morally justified in every way, and that they believe in this kind of like the greater good concept, which that means that what we're doing is better for the most people being the people that they have the same thought process with. It doesn't matter whether it's the actual majority or not. It just means, hey, we think it's the most, so therefore we're right. And then they refuse. It's cognitive dissonance. They refuse to acknowledge any evidence that might make them feel uncomfortable, and they don't want to feel uncomfortable. And then when they know it's there, they say exactly what you just said. We're moving forward. We're moving to a new part of life, because they know it's there, and they can't. They know in the back of their mind that there's gonna be something, and so they just want to get ahead of it and get away from it, and hopefully let someone else. It's the same process we just went through with Heather's situation. They want to punt so they don't have to deal with it. Let someone else somewhere else deal with it. We don't want to have to deal with
it. And it's I mean, this is almost plainly obvious, but I'm really just so fed up with this do nothing council majority. I mean, they are not going to lift a finger. They are not going to lift a finger to do anything related to the police department. They're not going to do it. And the reason is very obvious. It's a very quid pro quo circular graph here, right? They do nothing about the police. They refuse to lift a finger. Maintain the status quo as much as they can.
Yeah.
They get endorsements by the police, or they get support from the police. Now they're just endorsing, because of course, the patrolmen's union is now endorsing. So then they get support and endorsements. Then the police department does whatever the hell they want, and then residents, taxpayers, pay for the civil rights settlements. What a great con to fund I mean, you're getting support from the police department completely free. It's grossly corrupt, but I mean, it's a great con. I mean, how Trumpian.
Yeah. And also, I did notice something. I also like, they always hedge their bets. Did you ever notice that when they're doing these endorsements circuits? So the NEBPA, right? So the regional organization, which is all the New England states, the New England Patrolmen's Benevolence Association, right? So that's their thing. Then the regional association doesn't acknowledge any local endorsements. Did you notice that? That's an interesting thing. So you can use the logo, and you can have it's 9/11, right? So it's the local people. So it's local union they're giving their endorsements. But the regional group is like, hey, we don't get involved in the local stuff, right? So they can't have it ever come back on them when they get up the line,
Right,
which I find to
right.
be very, very interesting. It's not like all the police in the whole region are supporting this. It's like, no, that's just the Worcester guys. They're doing
Yeah,
their thing. We don't we
yeah.
don't we don't tell them what to do. I love that. I love that
And
kind
so
of. Uh,
this desperation
yeah,
to oh well, Post will do it. No, they won't.
yeah,
And what you're suggesting is that there's just nothing,
yeah.
because that's what's in your political interests. And these people don't represent the city. And let me be really clear. We're talking about the mayor's coalition of the mayor, Councilor Bergman, Councilor Calorio, Councilor Merrill Carlson, and Councilor Russell. Did I miss anybody?
Toomey.
Oh, Councilor Toomey, the queen, the volunteer lobbyist for the police unions that sits on city
And
council.
and a very important person who's not elected in city manager Eric Batista, who is appointed by that group and has massive power over our day-to-day lives in the city of Worcester.
Well, he shouldn't, though.
But he
But the
does.
council refuses to act.
That's correct. That's correct. And
Because
by the way, let me say this. Let me also hedge this, because otherwise I'm going to get phone calls. I would say that maybe if they did, the city manager would do something different. But because we don't know, because they refuse to act, we'll never know what his real thoughts or behaviors would be. And so, and because he doesn't express himself other than to hammer me and Tom, he
right.
that makes no public statements of any veracity other than this question, a single paragraph
He's
in a
petrified of a microphone, though. Doesn't go into a place where he might get asked a question, God forbid.
yeah, can't be asking any questions. But because we don't have anything, he gets grouped in with that. And maybe he doesn't want to be. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Maybe he doesn't want to be. But I remember his immediate predecessor, Ed Augustus. Ed Augustus would be right at the microphone, and on TV and on every single newspaper, telling everybody how he felt and said, "Hey, it's not up to me." I mean, he used to hammer Connie. He's the hammer, and Mike O'Brien was even more out there. So it's just interesting that the two immediate predecessors to him would be very vocal about their positions.
But this is all a very obvious strategy. Let the appointed person go take the bullets,
Yep.
while the elected people don't say anything that might be create liability for them. It's
Right.
these people treat this room, the city council chamber, like a country club. It's just a place for them to get status. They don't really want to do anything. Right, exactly. Especially now, since I just looked it up earlier, by the way. Since the city, when the day the city became a city, right? Since Worcester became a city, 1849.
Yeah.
The very first day they accepted petitions from residents. So Mayor Petty likes to talk about what? Mayor Petty likes to talk about this historic. Anytime anybody touches anything in the building, respect this historic building. They have totally disgraced that historic institution this year, all for their own personal best interests, because they don't want to talk about anything. They don't want to hear from anybody, because they don't represent the people of the city. They represent developers, donors, and police union. That's very obvious, because they don't care at all what happens to any of us.
Yeah. So I find the entertainment to be hilarious. I think it's I mean to me it's edge of the seat viewing every single Tuesday. I am leaning in. Although I decided that I might change my location. Because the press pit that they've assigned us to just it's really a hindrance to people being able to go. And so what I think I might do is I might wait in line if I want to make public comment, and I think I'm going to go start sitting upstairs, because I feel like everything's done to hinder people's access, and I don't want to be a party to hindering more people's access. And so I can cover the meeting from sitting up top and get you the same notes that you would want to get. Realistically, we had fought for that access because the Telegram and Gazette was given its own special place to sit at the table in the middle, and they wouldn't allow Manny to sit at the same table. They just wouldn't let him do it. Even though then they would also let GBH or NBC 10 or anybody else. So in response to that request for Manny's accommodation, they have banned us to that little box. And I feel more and more like that is it doesn't make sense, and maybe in the next session they'll change it, but it just doesn't make sense for me to sit there anymore. So I think I'm going to move upstairs and hoot at them from the gallery. You know what I mean? Hoot, hoot.
Yeah, then when I can't help myself but to curse when they're bickering over nothing, over 10 minutes or 30 minutes, to extend like if they extend it 30 minutes and that comments end, then you just move on. So what's the difference?
So I follow.
And then so I really curse when they're going through that performative bullshit. At least so I'm not heard through the whole room.
Yeah. So I did follow up on that, and a person close to Donna said that my critique and the following two people's critique of the cable petitions, but in particular somebody who called in online, who's kind of locally famous, and hurt Donna's feelings, and so that's why she decided to say, because she was mentioned by name. I asked her directly, about me, and she said, "No, it wasn't you, but one of the people online hurt my feelings." And so I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I mean, I said, I don't blame the committee at all. They should have legal guidance to, help them understand what they can and can't do legally, but they don't want to hire anybody to do that. So
there was someone that did call her a name that was on the Zoom. And so I
think I left before that because I was irritated.
In my opinion, then, again, city councilors and our city manager have, and even the chief of police a little bit, they're really sensitive, and they take everything, again, to this level that it just doesn't exist. We go back to the night of the protests and people telling you to go to F you, that definitely was being chanted at all of them. That's somehow a threat to your life, which is not, it's not the case. It's not. Now, I get it. Apparently there was some phone calls and text messages made directly to these folks. Again, never investigated. There's no investigation. We're just supposed to blanket accept that these folks are being threatened in the same way, because you can't ever let someone say that they've been threatened without also saying you were threatened too. Well, I was threatened too, right? So it's always like this constant cycle of this.
Me too. So
yeah,
what?
Me too. We've all been through it. But so you got to learn you got to have some thicker skin if you're going to take a public role, right?
And it's funny. It's funny because the one time the city manager got irritated from the podium.
Yeah.
They told him that's the job. Well, that's the job then.
Yeah, George Russell, actually, I that's probably the best thing I think he's ever said, was when he turned to the city manager, was like, "Hey, that's the job." You know what I mean? Which, by the way, is George Russell saying that part of the city manager's role that you get hired for and get paid $330,000 a year is to take bullets from the public and from them.
Right.
Right. So and so it's like, sit down and shut up, dude. We're giving you all this money, and you're gonna take these things while we're playing the intra-party game
on the deck.
Yeah, the slide, a little bocce action. They're all playing bocce.
So So now they're in the spot, right? I mean, they're going to choose to do nothing because they're godless, and they're, following the orders that they got from their owners at the police unions, because that seems to be the only people they're willing to represent. Now, if you could go to an IG, right? But that would be citywide, and they don't want that, because then that person would have the right to look at contracts and see everybody who's getting greased on the side. Where the new day center is, who profited from that, for example. They don't want anybody looking at that. So they won't do that either. So we just stay in the abyss. And well, right for now, probably. But while they talk about the chief, meanwhile, he's a year and a half away from vesting. And once he hits 3 years, and he will get no more pension the longer he stays.
I think
he will start getting job offers, and he will be looking at that maybe more even than he's making now. And he's going, I could go take this job and take 80% of my salary with me as pension, or I can stay here and deal with this bullshit. That's a tough thing to resist, right? And the worst kept secret in the city is they have not only chosen who is next, but they have told that person who's next. And we're not going to say who it is. We're not going to say who it is because then they'll say we're lying. Yeah. But they have. And let me tell you, it's an absolute unmitigated nightmare.
But let me tell you this: the day that Paul Saucier resigns or retires, he won't resign. He's going to retire. On the day, I already have a story written, impeccably sourced, about who is the next chief of police, and I will intentionally publish it, hopeful that they hate me and Tom so much that I'm dead serious. So serious. And that is pre-scheduled in advance. That not only that, all of the deputy chiefs know who it is.
Yep. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows who it is.
Listen, and it is, woo, is it not good? It is. I mean, symbolically, given, what they've worked on in the past and the performance of what they worked on in the past, it is just a nightmare. It is. And if you think that person is going to have control over that department like this person, like this chief does, you're out of your mind. And so what is important is that the city council right now be building systems and be putting in place protocols and ordinances, which is your function, to mitigate against the chaos that is going to erupt. Because if they go into that era of this police department with no oversight, which is what they're determined to do, God help us all.
A person who, in their own reporting, this will come forward at some point in our reporting, in their own written reports, has admitted they have a hard time managing groups larger than 5. That was written down in an official report by the person that they have selected. It's hilarious.
And they're going to. So I don't want to go too deep into this because then they're going to spin it like we're lying, and they know we're not, but they lie all the time.
But Tom, in this case, he only has to manage 4 deputy chiefs. As Paul Saucier reminded me, there's only 4. There's not 6. So it will put this person in a position to succeed. They'll only have to manage 4 people, right? And then those 4 people will have to manage the rest.
The hiring decision is made by the city manager alone.
But it's not. It's really made by the majority of the city council. Believe me, they're having these conversations prior to.
Right. And understand.
And by the way, come for me. Please come for me.
Yeah. Like y'all light. So you're the way like the PR ability in the city is very low. I am no PR genius, but I mean, you want to go to PR, well, we can do that. Because that's fine with me because you guys don't know what you're doing.
I have an understanding that in the next 18 months, we also might see other deputy chiefs retire in advance of that. And so if you just pay attention, folks, just pay attention. You might, and there may have already been a retirement after this information was disseminated, because we had a deputy chief retire earlier this year. So just think through that. Just pay attention to what we're writing and pay attention to what's happening live in the city, because we actually do have amazing sources that drives them crazy that we have them.
Yeah, and that's why they're putting out statements that we're the worst people in the world.
There's someone right now shaking their fist at their phone.
Yeah. And so, and what the city council, so what we'll have is like a 3 or 4 year period of Chief Saucier, who's trying to right the ship, and with a 20 years of chaos.
Yeah.
Of literally the department was coming apart at the seams as far as discipline goes, right? As maintaining discipline within the ranks. Because again, if you're doing the hard thing because it's the right thing, and you look around and all these guys that have been here 25 and 30 years are doing whatever the hell they want, they're taking the easy way because nobody's going to do anything about it. That is culture rot.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it, dude. Not only that,
And
though, 20 years.
and we and
No, 20 years of the most powerful people in the police department not being the chief just being a tool of the union membership and the union leadership. In this case, you have a guy in Saucier who at least resists, right? Although they said that we didn't have that story, by the way, but at least he resists when someone tries to browbeat him in some capacity, right? And so we know that at least he's not a coward, and he's not backed down into a corner, because if he was, it would have been way worse. It would have been way worse after Eureka Street, way worse than you could have ever imagined. There was things, and there's just stuff that we can't report because, again, it's one person here or one person there. But he was we're lucky we have him. Let me tell you that. We're lucky we have this guy.
He is, yeah, we are. And
compared to
right. And
why?
When he goes, I mean, what do you think is going to win? His 3 years or the previous 20 years?
Free for all. There's a power vacuum that will, and there's a reason that he was picked. There's a reason that he was selected, and a big part of it was he was, again, and he's gonna. I guarantee he was the best candidate for the job. And it became very obvious really quickly that he was a person who could work with multiple factions in an organization of almost 500 people who have real hatred for each other, a deep-seated, structural, you brought this up, cultural bad juju among each other, let alone all the stuff that we've talked about that's public facing. I'm talking about internal culture that is structured in a way that people don't actually like working with each other. That's not good. That's bad. They should all be on the same team, right? But and they present that publicly, but that is not the case. And he was the choice that they thought could be the most dynamic peacemaker, 1, 2, and then he was an effective communicator, and I think he has been. And then he also has the ability to organize things. And then, of course, he was the tech guy who kind of advanced them along. He argued for the body cameras, which we all, by the way, if you remember, let's go back to the body camera argument, Tom. There were factions fighting against it, and he was in support of it. Thank goodness. You know what I mean? Imagine if we didn't have the body cameras for some of the incidents that have happened over the past 4 years. Where would we be?
Yeah.
Where would we be? What would have happened on May without those body cameras?
Right. Oh, Christ. I mean, Ash and Attell would have got charged with terrorism or something crazy.
Ash would have been sent to El Salvador.
So what the city council majority is by refusing to lift a finger is steamrolling us right into the abyss once again. And it's all to serve their own near-term political ambitions. It's disgusting.
And the only thing, and I just want to say this, the only thing, Ash, I think you would take over that prison in like 15 seconds because they're probably all big babies. Confronted with a strong woman, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They would lose their minds. They would be completely gone. But let me say this. That's not true, Dana, in relation to Worcester. That is not what happened in Worcester. When it comes to the body cameras, there was a specific process that Worcester went through that was very complicated. The state allowed them to be present, but the city of Worcester did not. That is not what happened here. That distracted me real quick. I don't know where my thought was. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So they're playing. I mean, they're still playing with fire. And really, this is at this point this is not about the police department anymore. Right?
I remembered my thought. My thought is this: there is an alternative, and the alternative is voters. Get out and vote. Vote like you've never voted before, and then talk to your buddy and get them to vote, and your relative and your grandma and your great-grandson and your cousin Billy. Get them to vote like they've never voted before. That's the chance, because with turnout, which again, It's never happened here. But man, if there could be a large turnout, as large as these protests that I saw on the other day, if that level of enthusiasm could go to the polls, you could see changes this year, because some of the races are that close. They really, truly are. They are that close.
And and if this election goes, if the mayor is able to add to his coalition,
it's going to be. To be honest with you, I think that even if it just maintains the 6-5 thing, he'll take it as a mandate.
Yeah, probably.
Which is how he's governed that way for years.
I have told him this face to face.
Yeah,
this is the issue. Fix the police department. We'll build statues to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that there were two specific. There were two specific things that I think he could have cemented his legacy for the entirety of the universe, and it was the DOJ report and the Gaza petition. And I think he missed the boat on both of them. He really, truly did. And just give people a chance to get their thing on the floor. And by the way, I don't think it would have mattered if it was voted down. I think that the whole controversy was that it was denied for no reason. That was the entire controversy. And now people then there could have been political consequences for voting for it or against it, but at least it would have been the people's voice, right? And then since then, the petitions being denied, including our petitions, and the radical increase in percentage of denials, and then of course the DOJ thing, which just should have been, hey, we're going to have a series of public hearings, we're going to hash this out, and it's going to lead to better accountability. But they can't. Nope.
Well, they can't, because again, they have a very convenient quid pro quo. They don't do anything on the police. They get union support. The police do whatever the hell they want, and then we pay for it. Then taxpayers pay for it. It's a wonderful arrangement to milk the taxpayer into paying for their campaign.
Can I quickly address that? So Dana put up Bill H2120, which was related to the body cameras. So Dana, in the city of Worcester, the police unions won a stay on that being applied in the city of Worcester because it was a change in working conditions. And then the city negotiated a contract. I'm 100% right. Tom and I both covered this for multiple years from front to back. They won a stay and then negotiated a payment of $1,700 additional per year for each officer to wear it during the pilot program, which is then supposedly going to be phased out, but so far it hasn't been phased out, right? So they got an additional fee for every officer who wears the body camera. That is a fact. That is not what happened. The state allowed individual municipalities that were in the civil service, version, the union stuff, to sue, and Worcester was one of the cities that won. Or their police unions won. That's what happened.
And that is how desperately these unions don't want transparency.
Yeah,
because because they think, look, again, if you've been there 25 and 30 years, this is all you've ever known, and they're trying to change what you do. So I get the reflexive pushback. Again, to me, I'm thinking I'm at the point where this is not even about the police department anymore.
Oh.
This is really about the city council refusing to lead.
Yes, I agree. I think that, and every time something comes up that might be positive for the police, the city council steps in the way and runs cover for a very small group of people that are doing these just insane things that just don't make any sense. It's mind-boggling. I agree with you. We gave up blaming the police. I know that they think how they think about us, but it has nothing to do with them. When we talk about cultural and institutional rot, we're talking about the whole city government and the institutional bodies that are like attached to it, like the Chamber of Commerce, like what's the WBDC, the secret robe wearing, what is it, the EDC thing, the secret council where they get together on Fridays in the city, the
neoliberal brain rot convention every Friday.
By the way, I haven't got my robe or my invitation yet to the secret club. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of secret clubs, by the way, all over the city of Worcester. There's some wild stuff, man. There's some you
So
go down. Don't read Reddit, people. Please don't read Reddit because it's just a bad place to go.
I'm pretty convinced that they'll fight to the death to prevent this because, again, they have a very convenient relationship with the police unions. They fight to, they ensure there's no substantive change, and then they get rewarded for it. Horrifically corrupt, but it's a great con.
Yeah, actually, a photographer that Tom hired got rubber bulleted. What's the kid who got shot with the rubber bullet?
No, it wasn't. It was a pepper ball.
Pepper ball. Sorry, pepper ball.
Yeah, there's no problem though. I mean, him and somebody else that they weren't there together or anything, but a photojournalist was there too. Was arrested. Both checked in with the police. The guy that he's a freelancer, so he doesn't necessarily work for me, but he was he went and checked in, asked where he could go. They went because they don't talk to us plebs. And then he said, well, if I'm over there, is that okay? And they said, as long as you're not within, the protest, you should be fine. He wasn't even to that location yet, and they were shooting pepper balls at him. But there's no problem. There's no problem. Oh, he's lying. Of course he's lying. Everybody's lying. It's all a big conspiracy. Anti-police sentiment, says the most aggressive human being that's ever walked the earth.
It's so funny, dude.
It's clownish. It's clownish.
I mean, just the level of like the layers of dishonesty that we have been accused of. I'm basically, I should be in charge of the whole world. Like, it's so crazy the webs that they have us weaving, and realistically, we're just two guys, just trying to do our best, and not even some of the stories that we've done, we didn't even initially look at because we're only two guys. And and before I partnered with Tom, he was only one guy. Some of the stories, they themselves, by their resistance to us, have made us go, that's weird. Why are they resisting that? And then we start, scratch. And by the way, it's never like it's this deep hidden thing.
No.
One story I'm working on, I made one phone call to one person, and the person said, "Oh yeah, that's how it happened." And I was like, "Oh," they were like, "Yeah, we have a meeting every month, and there's a place you can go, and there's records, and you can have access to them." It was wild. Tom and I are going there next month. It's a real thing, dude. And we didn't even intend for it to be a story. That's how crazy it is.
Yep.
It's right in front of you, open information, and we were not looking at it until you decided to be grumpy. So stop being grumpy.
So get ready for the wave of propaganda. We might even get another 200 or 300 police officers under threat of being reassigned if they don't show up at the police at City Hall. You don't want hospital duty, do you? You better show up. Literally something that was said. Get ready for the nonsense because it's coming now. It's coming now. Oversight. The founders of the country that designed 3 branches of government with legislative oversight, legislative inquiry, they were wrong. They're losers. Worcester's got it right. We just run it like, as some councilors say, a corporate board. Except, who are the investors? Well, we know who the investors are: developers, donors, police union officials. And the thing is, they pretend like they care about cops, and they don't. They care about the political power that the unions have. Because there is a whole crop of young kids in there that want no part of the history of that department and how crazy it's been. They don't want to be part of a disaster of a department. They're actually there for the right reasons. And hopefully, the crop that's been there for 30 years, and it's been a free-for-all, will get the hell out of there over the next couple of years before they pollute another generation of cops into thinking they can do whatever they want.
Hey, so real quick before we wrap up for the night, I wanted to so on Tuesday is the actual city council is the public safety meeting, and that report on the drones, that thing got pulled there. We had talked about it 2 shows ago, and I was wrong on the date. So it's actually this Tuesday that the public safety committee is meeting. So before the of course, the last public safety meeting before the election and the last city council meeting before the election are definitely staged right before each other. I'm gonna drop if you guys haven't read Tom's story on the drones, I just put it in the chat on Facebook. I don't have the ability to do it on YouTube at the same time, but I read this story on the drones. Really, really, really key component here is that the chair of the public safety committee proposed an expansion of the drone program, asked for a report in relation to unmanned drones monitoring or responding to things in the city. And Tom did a really good job of reporting on that city, Chula Vista, California, and then one other city in California that was thinking about going to some version of the program. 3 things that Tom found in this article. 1, there is no unmanned drone program. There's none. There are operators for every single one of these drones.
So I think I'm not sure that that's in the piece. I actually I learned that afterward. So
Okay.
it's coming. So just to be clear on that, it's coming. I think it's Oak Ridge, California. Looks like they're going to be the first city to get it. But sometime next year, maybe. Nobody's authorized to because this is all regulated by FAA.
Yes.
Nobody's authorized to do this yet. So
True.
when she said, when Councilor Toomey said in City Council, it's not like these are operated by people; these are all automated. Nobody has that.
Right.
Nobody in the country.
Not only that, Tom. So the city manager then, who was clearly prompted, got up and said that it's all operated by AI, and there's like an AI system that doesn't exist in the world. There are no unmanned drones being operated by AI, even by the American military. That is not true. There are operators. That the difference is that these drones can go much farther without having a person watch the drone. Right? That's what it is. That's the only thing. But there are no it's just completely made up. It's literally completely made up. There are no cities in the country that have this program. It is completely untested and unproven technology. And even the Trump administration's FAA, because I went and did some research for Tom that I haven't even given to him yet. I just popped into my brain, and I have to give him some stuff. The FAA commissioners, all Trump appointees, because if you remember, this was one of the agencies where he whacked everybody, right? He got rid of all of them. So the people that are currently FAA commissioners, appointed by Trump, MAGA to the death, they think that this is not something they should do right now. In their committee hearings, they're like, "Hey, and then not only that, the Secretary of War, love this guy." They haven't even the American military, which, by the way, they have technology we don't know about. They so much money, it's unbelievable. They authorized a study about implementing this in what they call theaters of war, right? So where you were going to do attacks, and even in that level, when they have infinite money, they can do whatever they want with. Even then, they don't want unmanned drones. They want operators attached to them. They do. So
I mean, they're unmanned, but yeah.
There's nobody watching them fly, but there's a base where someone is sitting at a computer and operating the drone with headset or whatever, video game technology, right? So I thought about this for a little bit, and it struck me afterwards, because I had attacked it at one point and then read your story, and I thought your story was great, and then I thought about what she said. This is an attempt to get more police officers jobs.
That's exactly what it is.
Play video games. That's what it is. So Mo Bergman's whole thing about you could get a drone there so much faster than a police officer in a car, it's because he wants a police officer in a room that does that. So it is a jobs expansion, and that's why it makes sense that it came from those 2 people, because they're supported by the unions and they want more jobs. That's what it's about.
Vendors of these products say that 40 to 60% of the cost is manpower.
Yeah. And by the way, one last thought. Those drones that have the more than 5 mile radius, right? This 5 mile or beyond radius. These are the kind of drones. I looked it up. There is not a single one in the world that costs less than $30,000 per drone. Not less. And the ones in Chula Vista, in the city that they talked about, they were both 7,500. They're not the kind of drones that our city council is talking about. They're not. They're operated drones. We have one. We bought one from Cloud City Drones, 4 or 5 years ago. We have one of the same kind of drones. DJI is the company that does it. Long story short, President Trump has put a tariff on drones and drone parts. And so that company can't sell them anymore. And all the American companies that sell the same technology, their prices are double and sometimes triple. So this number that Mo Bergman came up with, $30,000, maybe the remote control it costs $30,000, but this is not a $30,000 program. This is millions and millions.
Well, right. And so in Chula Vista, year 3, they were at 1.5 million. I think the name of the city is Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge, California, they're over 2 million a year. Yeah. So this is a slow roll to a massive expansion of the police budget, and probably more hires. Meanwhile, we already have we're right at the national average for number of police officers per capita.
Right.
So this is just, I mean, and look, Mo Bergman's a nice guy, but I mean that if this saves one life, it'll be worth it. How many people are going to freeze to death this year that you'll do nothing about and nobody gives a shit about?
That's right.
So please with that.
That's a great thing, Tom, because you know what? The salary for the folks that work in the shelters that have directly affected the lives of people on the streets and saved their lives, their salaries are generally $30,000 to $50,000 a year. They're not making a ton of money to do that. Nope. Dana just pointed out, Dana's a BCBA, right? And she's making that low kind of cost. Those numbers that he said, those could be people who are directly affecting the people that are going to be out in the cold or in the forest or in the woods or in the thing, and they could be saved. They could be saved right now with science that is proven over a 40 to 50 year period of intervention in people who are on the fringes of society. This is scientific, Mo Bergman, and I'm saying it right to you. You're ignoring science for an unproven technology. By the way, overseas, they don't have the rules we have about drones here. Do you want to look into how many of the military drones have crashed? Do you want to look into that? Just look into that. Because there's a report.
How do you have to operate? How do you have to operate these by line of sight until you get an FAA waiver? Now, the FAA waivers come pretty quickly. They used to take like a year or more, and they're coming pretty quickly now. But I mean, do we have to hire an outside law firm for that too?
Well, I mean, and then remember, our city, unlike Chula Vista, our city has an airport in the city limits.
Correct.
There's actual planes landing and flying. And so remember, there's been issues with people flying the drones too close to the airport. That exists already. So you can imagine now the kind of conflicts that this could set up if you had these other drones popping up out of buildings. By the way, which buildings are they going to go into? Maybe all the city properties that are empty.
And then you have the discussion that happened about concerns about privacy and everybody going, oh well, everybody's watching anyway. Yeah, the difference here is you guys refuse to institute any oversight. So when the day after Chief Saucier leaves, when a police officer decides he wants to use one of these drones to spy on his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend because she's got a new boyfriend, nobody's going to do anything about it because you won't put any measures to do anything about it.
And by the way, I know that the city council is watching at this point, right? Real quickly, look at the post-commission report, and you can see at least one officer who decided to use his car to sleep with his girlfriend. So that is officially in the post-commission report. You can go check that out. It was found credible, and he was driving around with his car. And there's another one who used his, city-approved thing to go confront somebody else in that car. So there is a history of Worcester officers, both of whom still have their jobs, by the way. They have not been fired. Using city equipment, maybe not for the right reasons. So if they use cars for not the right reasons, it stands to reason that there's a chance that someone would use a drone for the wrong reason too.
I mean, if there was oversight and somebody to investigate this stuff that wasn't, a co-worker of maybe decades, that would give me a little comfort. But you don't want that because your owners at the police unions told you couldn't want that.
So go to the post commission report. I don't remember the officer's name who was driving around in the car.
Yeah, it's all public.
It is public though. It's on the post commission report, and it was only like 3 or 4 years ago. So he got caught banging his girl. Oh, not to say that the DOJ report had a similar story that was related to some of the stuff that Tom and I have been talking about. Hey.
Oh. And last but not least, so let's go back to 2015. One of the many times that they, you guys are just anti-police because you want oversight. The mayor said in 2015, we already, in discussion about a citizen review board, we already have avenues for this. We have the Human Rights Commission, and we have the Public Safety Committee. Well, the following year, he appointed Kate Toomey to the Public Safety Committee. And as much as she wants to lie and say that, I can only take orders that come from the council. Well, that's true, but you issue chairperson's orders for reports and asking them to do things and all kinds of stuff all the time, just not from the police department. So pleased with that. And then he's appointed her for a decade while that committee's done absolutely nothing of substance. And in the Human Rights Commission, never mind. First of all, he's sat idle as a city manager and said nothing as a city manager, just obliterated the Human Rights Commission. But even before that, when they did the reorganization, the ordinance changed. So the Human Rights Commission has to go through the city solicitor to use its subpoena power, which means it can't use its subpoena power. And Joe Petty voted for it. So you said that there was these things, and then you participated in mutilating them and making them useless.
Yeah. And it is what it is. That the mayor who has been mayor now and going for a record 7 terms, right? 14 years, going for term number 8, 16 years. He has said the same things about reports and studies. I found that to be a really difficult comment to take when we were talking about the Civilian Review Board earlier this year. He says we have to wait for the report to come back. Well, you know what, Tom? The report came back. And it turns out that, wait a second. You know what happens every time a report comes back? Everything that Tom and I have ever said has been proven true. Every single thing.
Because it's not difficult. You just have to try to find the information.
I hate to say it, but we told you so. We told you so. We told you so. Our entire newspaper has always told you so.
And credit to the Research Bureau. This was the most sternly worded report I've ever seen them do. The section on the history of them thwarting this, dodging oversight, was just damning.
By the way, the Worcester Research Bureau is not a bastion of leftist, anti-police, progressive politics.
Oh yeah,
they literally host the city manager's state of the city.
Oh, it was the best. I was on my way to, or I was listening before I left the house to Hank Stoltz's show on Wednesday before I left to go in to do my weekly thing. And Worcester, like the dumbest person in Worcester, Steve Quist called and just starts going off about how the Research Bureau is a political organization and blah, 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 blah. If they held the report till after the election, because they released it just before the election, and their position is it was done, so we released it.
Yep.
If they held it till after the election, isn't that also political?
Yes.
But he's so vapid, he's got 6 brain cells and he can't put that together.
And did he not hear? Because Mayor Petty, Councilor Toomey, Councilor Merrill Carlson, Councilor Russell, Councilor Bergman, and Councilor Calorio, they asked for an update from the city manager on the report just a few months ago. They all voted for it. It was a unanimous vote from the 10 councilors on board. So if it's political, it was a response to the majority, a unanimous council asking for this report. So this was something was asked for and received. So how can it be political if they got the answer that they asked for? What's taking so long was what was it? And by the way, I was there at the city council that night. I saw Councilor Bergman make a very passionate plea for the research. What's going on with the Research Bureau report? When are we going to get this back? We would like to delve into this. We need to be able to get it into committee and get it into the Public Safety Committee and start talking about it. So it's crazy in our city where the very moderate, if not conservative, Research Bureau delivers a report clearly stating what is obvious to everybody else. And then it's not the answer that they want to hear. And so now people go, oh, they're political. They're this. It's like, okay, yeah. So it doesn't matter. The answer is, Tom, it doesn't matter what the Research Bureau said. It was always going to be spun to stop any additional oversight. Always. That was always the plan from the beginning.
Because, and Mayor, again,
frankly, that's his record. That's his track record on this issue for more than a decade in his public statements. Go back to 2015. You can read it in the Telegram and Gazette. And he said in 2015, we don't need it. Mo Bergman in 2015, we don't need it. These are all public statements. They're on the record. Kate Toomey, her whole career, we don't need it. We don't need it. Their plan is not, I agree with Tom 100%. Their plan is never to be truly transparent when it comes to accountability with the city of Worcester, and not just the police department, but the whole city government. They don't want transparency. They're against it. Yep. That's their record on this.
Yep. And so I think that they owe the taxpayers millions of dollars because they allowed the scenarios that existed that created these settlements and these lawsuit losses. You created this environment through your lazy, gutless inaction, through your pandering for election support from the unions. And you put all of us at risk. Because yes, when you dial 911 in Worcester, it'll probably be fine. But there's that 5% say of the department that are off the grid crazy. And God knows what'll happen. And it's just amazing to me that these people can watch the Rizzuti tape. You know what, Mayor Petty, if everything's fine, put the Rizzuti tape on the screen in City Council. We can all watch it as a city, and then you explain to me how everything's okay.
Oh, he was just doing what he was trained to do, Tom. That's their training. That's their training. It's not a training defect.
Why don't you do something to fix that instead of sit on your ass?
Because
there's a reason why. Because they don't care what happens to any of us. They want police support. And when you have somebody like should be a convicted felon, Thomas Duffy, as the union rep, he's just going to ask for the world, and they're just going to go, okay.
And there's no consequences for bad political behavior, like, I don't know, going to court and showing your face in front of every reporter in the city while a sitting city councilor was going, in front of a hearing and in front of everybody intentionally, by the way. At this point, there's no way I can look at it anyways, talking to the prosecuting attorney in the case before and after the hearing, making sure that you were visible. And to be honest with you, I was a willing participant at that hearing, watching him go in front of me, knowing he knew I was going to write it. Right. Knowing he knew I was going to write it, he still did it because he's that brazen and that wild. He doesn't care.
Because no one's going to do anything. No. That's wholly unethical from a city council that refuses to pass an ethics policy. So wholly unethical.
Other than Worcester Sucks, who linked to our article, right? They linked to our article. No, not one person in the mainstream media covered this. Nope. Not one. And although it came up on Hank's show, it was only one day, and you were there, so it doesn't count. It doesn't count, right? So Hank doesn't even cover it. So even that level, there's no coverage of this. It's like, that's not a big deal. What? That's not a big deal to you? That's not wild?
He is.
It's wild.
He is to represent the union for collective bargaining, not as an attorney or to be involved in a case that he has no involvement in. He wasn't even there.
Wild.
It's wild.
It's wild.
And that district attorney, by the ethics law of the state for prosecutors, needs to document that interaction happened.
I hope so. I'd like to see that when we get into the documents of that case. If that's that should be that's part of discovery. That should go to the defense attorney. That's part of discovery. So that conversation took place. So that's interesting because I didn't think about that till just now. We should reach out to that district attorney's office and see, hey, was this interaction documented? Are you giving this in discovery? Because that's what they're currently anticipating for November.
And remember that this is a police officer who has accumulated a higher rate of civilian complaints than the poster child for bad cops, Derek Chauvin.
It's wild.
And we're supposed to, but if we don't call him a hero, well, we just hate police. This criminal.
This has been a good show tonight.
But that's who our 6 of our city councilors represent. That guy. Time now, because I've yelled enough, for John's favorite part of the show.
My favorite part of the show? My favorite part of the show. I resist that characterization, Tom, and I would say that it is everybody's favorite part of the show, including yours. But you're secretly holding back your love and your just desire.
I'm full of love right now
to engage in this part of the conversation when we've had this really deep talk about city politics in advance of this insane election that's coming up in 2.5 weeks from now. So we are in the stage of this show being so popular, Tom, that people give suggestions now for the Tom's Favorite Things segment. By the way, for those small businesses out there, Tom's Favorite Things it could be a sponsored segment. So you can reach out to us and we could talk to you about sponsoring Tom's segment. And what would happen is there would be like a little card that would go on screen and it would have the logo of your business, and next to it would be Tom's Favorite Things. And there'll be like a cartoon Tom of some kind that it's possible that someone right now is working on a cartoon Tom. I'm just saying, I'm not going to say who, but it's possible that is being done as we speak. Okay. So,
just another idea in a segment real quick. I could also attach a heart monitor, and like we could figure out some way to, based on how high my heart rate gets. I'm gonna work on that. That could be a segment.
So we're in the weather part of the year, where like in the morning it's like 35 degrees. Right. And by the afternoon, it's 80. Right. So you get this weird time when people got the heat on, or some people have the heat on. I'm not saying you have the heat on.
It's like having malaria.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought about this, and there's like this common thing where, and this was suggested by one of our faithful watchers, Tom, during the wintertime, when the heat is on, what is your go-to temperature setting for your domicile, your living quarters? What is
like 67?
67?
Because it's like burning money. So I keep it pretty chilly.
We should play the scene from Daddy's Home with those guys.
Just heaving the money in the fire. But yeah, I'm a 67 guy because I don't mind a little chilly, and again, it's burning oil is like burning money, whatever kind of heat you have is just like burning money.
Yeah. So for me, so just right now, just so all of you know, this how wild I am. In my room, there are still 2 fans going, and the AC is still in my window.
What's wrong with you?
So I prefer it cold at nighttime. And then here's the interesting dichotomy of John. If you want to get into the psychology of my nonsense in the car, I tend to be way warmer. So I'm like 70 to 75 on the car heater. So I can't explain to you why. I have no reason for why I like to let it get that warm in the car, but inside my room, when I'm sleeping, I want it. I want to be frozen to my bed at some point. You know what I mean? I want icicles to cover me and be dripping off my beard. That's how I'm feeling.
But it's Africa in your car.
In my car, it's basically the Serengeti. Yes, there's giraffes and there are lions, and I can't explain to you why.
Okay, then.
That's where I'm at, dude. And by the way, the greatest invention, in my opinion, in the history of the universe is the remote starter for New England weather. To be able to put the remote starter on, let it do most of the melting, so I don't have to even get out there. And my car, which I bought in 2020, was the first new car I ever bought in my life. Still paying for it, but anyways, it's the first new car I ever bought. It has a heated steering wheel, which I think I paid like $400 for at the time. And that heated steering wheel is you can set it so it's part of the remote starter cycle, and so that is a amazing addition to life. Is getting into the car and having a warm steering wheel.
Oh, my moment of inertia this week. Watching the at-large debate that was last week, and then credit to Councilor King for actually saying something in the mayor's debate. Everybody in the at-large debate taking this victory lap on ADUs, on accessory dwelling units, and Councilor King pointed out in the mayor debate. I was thinking about it when I saw the at-large debate. The city had to rewrite the whole ordinance about 5 minutes after they passed it because the state passed the law that was far more extensive than theirs. And they're tepid. We don't want to do any. It's an emergency, so we'll go. A 2 out of 10.
And I don't want
to. And then they try to get credit for it like they did something. Hysterical.
And remember the ADUs. As Councilor Bergman, I just want to make sure everybody remembers that the ADUs could change the character of our neighborhoods. And so we got to make sure that we don't do what then the state was already working on. So we wasted time. And it just goes back to the dichotomy that they ask us to live in, which is that they don't want to deal with any of the things that we want to do because they have so much work to do on the city council floor, and then they'll waste our time with that argument. Meanwhile, the state, which by the way, Tom and I aren't pro the state house because there's a person ruling the state house that is the worst speaker of the house.
It's the least effective state house probably in the country
ever. But they were almost unanimous on this ADU thing, including Republicans, the 8 Republicans that are in the state house. So they were almost unanimous in passing the ADU as being something that could lead to more affordable housing. And of course, our city council had to have a more restrictive version of that law. Thank you very much. All the folks that are real landlords on our city council are just doing that heavy lifting of research and legal things. You guys continue to knock it out of the park over there. Love that. Gotta love that. Go landlords. I should get a shirt. Go landlords.
All right, we're over the limit. Everybody have a great week. We'll do this again next Sunday, and we'll talk about do another useless city council meeting with nothing on the agenda. And parting words is, can we get a committee on revenue? Can we talk about revenue ever? Or are we just going to wait for the funding bomb to drop? No, we're just going to wait, and we're going to walk ourselves into a nightmare, an emergency situation, and then they're going to pretend like they fixed it. This is my final rant tonight. I was pissed off today. We will do this again next week at same time, 8:35. Thank you all for your comments and participation. And I know we didn't say a whole lot about comments today. Sorry about that. I was yelling. And you get involved, go vote, and we'll try to screw it up less next week.
I'm
Please
glitching.
do.
I'm glitching.
Blogger out.